Welcome once again to the Asset Preservation Hour with Stewart Willis. He is the president of Asset Preservation Wealth and Tax. I'm your host, Spengel. Every single week, Stewart tries to help you with retirement planning solutions and strategies. Today, you've got the keys for investment success. I know what they are. We just got to be in a bull run for the rest of our lives, right?
Right. So long as the stock market doesn't go backwards, we'll all be rich, right?
That's it. The keys to investment success. But oh my God, there's so many different elements on today's program. It isn't just about your investment selection. It isn't just about returns. It isn't even just about your fees. There's so many different elements. And in fact, we're going to try to visualize this throughout today's program. Stuart, where would you like to start? You're saying it's not just about the investments.
Well, people that have watched our show for the last couple of years realize that, I like graphics. And today will be not light on graphics at all. So we're going to push the producers and the directors to their edge here with our new graphics. And hopefully it'll make some sense. But one of the graphics we have is a basic pyramid. And this basic pyramid is where we believe that you can find the keys to investment success. Now, at the top of that pyramid, we want to talk about taxes and estate planning. Now,
really?
Yeah.
we just got from investment, we're at taxes and estate. I thought that's the money I leave behind.
Well, remember, taxes are what you're also paying right now, right? Because it's not all about leaving money behind. You want to make sure you get through retirement, right? You want to make sure you have enough. And if Uncle Sam gets to you too much, it could be a problem. Now, a lot of people, have heard, I've said it before, that one of the things that's different about our firm is that not only do we look at the investments, but we look at taxes and estate planning as well. That's the whole reason we have a full tax office in our offices in Scottsdale.
Right. Now, and this isn't just something for folks to pick up the phone number that they can see on the screen or use that QR code, schedule an appointment, and you're just going to start filing taxes. It is part of a total strategy that you do.
That's right. Yeah, so we don't do taxes for people that are not our clients, that are not financial clients. So we're not just one of the places you show up and do your taxes right away. I mean, we only do them for our financial clients because look, we're busy, we're swamped, and we have to limit it that.
Well, you know this. We do the radio show KTAR KFYI, where we do an hour-long, and we've talked a lot about taxes over the last couple of years. But there's a big reason why you continue to talk about taxes. Can we help folks visualize it?
Yeah, we are in one of the most efficient tax windows in history. I say it over and over and over again, and I have a graphic that I want to show you. It's our tax bracket graphic. So this is probably my most overused graphic here, but I think it's really important to look at. And that tax bracket graphic will show you that we are in one of the most efficient tax windows in history right now. We're in that red zone there. And if Congress doesn't act, it's going to revert back to the blue at the end of 2025, back to the 2017 levels. So just understand that having a proper tax plan is critical. I'm not going to get too deep into it now, but just know it's
individual situation. You got to come on into the office. We say it all the time. Another thing, though, on the top of this pyramid, you said, is estate planning.
Yeah, estate planning. So, in one of the previous episodes we talked about living trusts and estate plans. And look, I think it's a critical part of your financial plan as well, because all of your life's work can be just decided by other people of who's in charge. So when you talk about estate planning, we're talking about making sure at minimum you have a will done. Definitely consider a living trust. It may or may not be the right thing for you, but it's a super important thing, because what I tell our clients is that either me or one of our financial advisors, we are going to be there for our clients. If they pass away, we will be there, if we're alive, to make sure that their heirs are taken care of as well. Because look, there's a reason wealthy people stay wealthy. They plan. They plan not just for themselves, but for the next generation as well. And so having an estate plan is super, super important. And so if you are thinking like, oh my God, I'm in this position where nobody's ever talked to me about taxes, no one's looked at our estate plan, and you're concerned that you're paying too much taxes, then I think it's really important to make sure that your tax plan is considered. Right?
And speaking specifically to an Arizona audience, I think a lot of us are here, a lot of people are here, and I'm trying to get your LinkedIn to blow up again with comments right now. Is that well, folks are trying to have less government than more government. And if you want the government out of your estate plan, how to transfer your wealth, then you need to do an estate plan. It's simply you need to act to do something about it if you want less of the government inside your estate plan.
Yeah, I mean, because just remember, when it comes to estate planning, a will is public. It's public information, so that when you pass away, if your assets are in a will, you know, probate is a public process. Your neighbors can know what you have. And if you don't want that to happen, I think it's really important to do what the wealthy do and to make sure you have a plan. And look, I think everybody wants to be wealthy. They just don't want to be considered wealthy by the tax man, right? They want to make sure they're treated fairly.
We at least don't want the tax person to know about it, but yeah, absolutely, the IRS.
So if you have concerns that you're not tax efficient, that you haven't looked at whether or not Roth conversions make sense for you, or you have an estate plan that is, you know, just way out of date, or maybe you've never even started one, then give us a call, because we'd be glad to do a complimentary portfolio review. We'll take a look at what kind of risks you're taking in your portfolio, what kind of fees you're paying, what kind of tax implications are hiding in the background of your portfolio, and is your estate plan up to date? But you have to take action. Give us a call at 833-602-PLAN. That's 833-602-7526, or even easier, click on that QR code. It'll take you to assetpreservation.com.
Stewart, we are going to take a short break, a very short one right now, but I want to set this up for everybody right now. Don't go anywhere, folks. We do have a little break. It's a very specific message for you. Please listen to the following message. But we want to come back with asset allocation. What do we do with our investment choices? I mean, we're talking about the keys to investment success. The thing is, Stewart, I feel like I didn't have a lot of choice. I had either my 401k or 403b or TSP or 457. So can you talk a bit about asset allocation when we come back from the break?
Absolutely, look forward to it.
Folks, you are watching the Asset Preservation Hour with Stewart Willis. If you want to get your own complimentary review, it's for the first 15 callers, or for the first 15 people who click on the QR code on the bottom of the screen, open up your phone to the camera function, click on it just like you have on restaurant menus, go to the website, schedule your own appointment. We'll do a complimentary investment review. Or call 833-602-7526. That's 602-PLAN. More with Stewart when we get back right after this.
You've got quite an extensive resume. Wow, so many years of management. I bet that was fun. So this job requires basic knowledge of the social media and video platforms, content creation, and SEO. How proficient are you in those areas?
Going back to work after retiring is not ideal. I'm Stewart Willis with Asset Preservation Wealth and Tax. If you have amassed a nest egg, it's time for a financial advisor to help you reach your retirement goals. We are in one of the greatest tax windows in history, so it makes sense to take advantage of this tax discount while you can with your partners in retirement. All of our expert advisors, CPAs, and enrolled agents are fiduciaries that specialize in retirement planning, tax mitigation, estate planning, and more. Plan your retirement right. Call right now for your own complimentary portfolio review and tax analysis.
Welcome back to the Asset Preservation Hour with Stewart Willis, President of Asset Preservation Wealth and Tax right here in Arizona. We have offices all around the state. If you would like to come in, just use that phone number, use the QR code. Stewart, we got to jump back into it. We're talking about asset allocation. Can you define a decent asset allocation without visuals, or do we need slides for this?
No, I love my visuals. Look, I'm going to pull up my pyramid again here, and this pyramid will show the investment success, the keys to investment success. Well, when you look at asset allocation and security selection, under it is investment behavior. Now, I'm going to get back to that at the end here, but what that's premised on is that you're in the right asset allocation. Okay, what we mean by that is that you need to be invested where you are comfortable, not where your neighbors are comfortable, not what your neighbors are comfortable with. Look, it's funny. Oftentimes, people are matching up us against other advisors. And there's an advisor that mainly has online, virtual meetings with clients. They do a lot of national advertising, and they have pure individual stock portfolios. And those are very risky. I mean, they're very aggressive, and that's okay for some people. But for some people, they can't tolerate that kind of risk, right? So what's right for you may not be right for the person next to you. And the reason we talk about asset allocation, we're talking mainly about diversification, okay? Making sure that your investments are properly diversified, to make sure that not only do you have the proper allocation of stocks and bonds and alternatives, et cetera, but do you need to have some fixed portions in your account as well? And I think, Spike, right now we're in this amazing interest rate environment.
It's been the best interest rate environment I think we've seen in our careers. At least I know my younger career, no offense. No, but about the same timeline of us being in there. We haven't seen these interest rates in fixed. Now, is this an all or nothing? Are we trying to time the market and all that?
No, I think it's important. And the reason fixed assets are really important, look, we're seeing CDs that are really good right now. The problem with CDs is we think they're short-lived. We're in this inverted yield curve. We know that's gonna go away imminently here. But the long-term interest rates are things you need to look at. And there are those sort of products that you can find inside the annuity world, which I'm typically not a huge fan of, inside the fixed world. But look, they're providing some pretty interesting yield right now. But when it comes to diversification, what we're talking about is not just a diversification of your investments. We're talking about also making sure you have a diversification of tax classes to make sure that not all your money is pre-tax, not IRAs, 401ks, TSPs, 457s. Maybe a Roth makes sense as well. And that tax planning is all part of that diversification as well. Most importantly, I think, when it comes to diversification is this. Look, we talk about politics every once in a while, and I get fired up. It's why I'm wearing a pink tie. I couldn't wear blue or red today. People think I'm this crazy liberal or this crazy conservative. It depends who's listening. But look, here, think about this. If you are dealing with a financial advisor, or maybe it's you self-managing, what if that financial advisor watches one news channel, right? Some people, if you watch the conservative news channel, you see the world one way. If you watch the liberal one, you're on a completely different planet, right? Don't you think that affects your money managers as well, your financial planners? So what if your financial advisor is watching the wrong channel, sees the world wrong? You're going to put your whole life savings in the eyes of how one person sees the world? It's an incredibly...
But what I like is that you talk about solutions. So tell me the difference then. So you're saying that when I walk into one person's office and they've got a suit and tie on and I'm listening to XYZ Investments, they're giving me their perspective. What is different about yours?
Well, I think what separates us is that we use multiple money managers that see the world differently. Okay, we have one of the largest money managers in the world overseeing some of our portfolios. We have an algorithm money manager who did a brilliant job for 5 years. Pretty terrible in 2022, to be honest. I mean, but, and we had another money manager that was fantastic as well last year. And the key is this, and the point I'm trying to make is this: no one's going to get it right all the time. But what you don't want to do is watch your entire life savings go down the tubes because one guy got it wrong.
Stewart,
it's a tremendous risk.
This is a time right now where I think people are wondering which way to react, which way to move, which way. And again, this goes to timing the market. Do you have any graphics that will help us with this? Everybody's wondering which way to leap, jump, or choose right now.
I think the first thing to do is to understand that your risk tolerance should be tailored to you. It should be your opinion, how you're comfortable. We do a complete risk analysis. We do all kinds of tests. And in that analysis, we look at, hey, if the market drops 20%, how are you going to react? 30%, 40%, 50%. Eventually, there's a pain point where you say, hey, that's too much risk. Right? It's not about impressing your friends with the crazy portfolios or the Bitcoin or anything crazy. It's about having a portfolio that's going to make you able to sleep at night, but also get a nice rate of return. And so if you're concerned that you don't know what kind of risk you're really taking, or maybe you're taking too much risk, well, what we're offering is that complimentary portfolio review. If you give us a call at 833-602-7526, even easier, pick up the phone, click on that QR code. We will give for the first 15 people that complimentary review. And now listen, the reason it's important that you know where you stand, in our next segment, we're going to be talking about investment behavior and investor behavior and how people in the wrong portfolios make terrible decisions because they're pressured to do so. But you have to take action. Give us a call, 833-602-7526. We'd be glad to help.
We're going to talk about your investor behavior in reaction to what's going on with today's markets for your retirement planning strategies. As Stewart said, call the phone number right here. The first 15 callers or the first 15 people who visit the website using the QR code will get appointments. After that, we're going to have to shut it off. More of the Asset Preservation Hour with Stewart Willis right after this.
We know the market is going to get worse from here. This is the biggest monthly decline in 10 years. People's 401ks took a major hit.
Well, my investments are tanking. My retirement isn't going as planned. I can't believe I let my kid talk me into buying crypto. I mean, what is that anyway?
This was the fourth worst contraction in history.
So how are you two doing?
Your financial future doesn't have to be uncertain. I'm Stewart Willis with Asset Preservation Wealth and Tax. If you have amassed a nest egg, it's time for a financial advisor to help you reach your retirement goals. We are in one of the greatest tax windows in history, so it makes sense to take advantage of this tax discount while you can with your partners in retirement. All of our expert advisors, CPAs, and enrolled agents are fiduciaries that specialize in retirement planning, tax mitigation, estate planning, and more. Plan your retirement right. Call right now for your own complimentary portfolio review and tax analysis.
Welcome back to the Asset Preservation Hour with Stewart Willis. I'm your host, Spike Spengel, and we're talking about now, not just the keys to your investment strategy for retirement, but investor behavior, how they've changed. We talk a bit about behavioral finance. I love talking about it, but what does it mean to you for retirement planning?
Well, look, I think last year was the one year, and look, I say it all the time, I've had a pretty easy career here, right? I've had it nice and smooth and easy, and I want it back. But 2022 really showed us, the perfect storm of investing, and people reacted in crazy ways. And what it showed me was that, you need to make sure people are, first of all, comfortable in their portfolios, that they have a very clear plan, that they understand whether or not they're still on pace to do well in retirement. Because oftentimes what we see is people will feel this need to sell or buy or do, to make a crazy move just because the news is making them crazy.
Right, and they figure, I've got to do something about it. I can't just sit here and do nothing.
No, and there's an interesting statistic here. When it comes to investment behavior, there's an interesting statistic here. When I showed you that original slide that showed the pyramid, let me pull that up real quick. At the base of it is investment behavior, investor behavior. The way you react to the markets, the way you react to the portfolios moving may be the single biggest determinant in whether or not you succeed in retirement, okay? Now, here's why it's important. Look, people all the time, they feel the need to act when they shouldn't be acting, right?
Yeah. Well, I hear these things about interest rates. We hear the things about the stock market went down, interest rates went up. It's like, what am I supposed to do?
Well, there's a crazy statistic here that, statistically, with a penalty kick in the game of soccer, and I have this graphic, of course, basically, what we're seeing is that statistically, the best move for a goalkeeper to make is to just stand in the center and wave his arms, right? But 94% of the time, they jump to the right or left. Now, he may get fired and not have a job, right? If he can do that. I don't know if he can read. That's a little small here, but it's 94% of the time, they jump to the right or left. They have this need to act even when they probably shouldn't act.
Yeah.
And Spike, I see that all the time too, right? People have this need to act. And if you take a look at the S&P 500, what we've seen for the last 25 years or so, I'm going to pull this up here. What you're going to see in the graphic for the S&P 500 is you see that first hump where it goes up and then down. Well, that was the dot-com up and then the dot-com crash.
And so how many people rode it on the way up and then heard about the crash and sold again on the way down?
Well, that's the point, right? What happens is people sell. Everyone knows you're supposed to buy low and sell high, and oftentimes they don't. What happens is they end up selling when they should be staying and holding tight. Because look after 2009, at that second hump there, what would have happened is if people would have sold because they were scared, they would have absolutely missed the best stock market the world's ever seen.
Right. And I hear this all of the time. I sold before the market crash. I sold before the market crash. Yeah. My question always is, when did you get back in?
Yeah, so that's it. I hear about all the genius moves after the fact. And then I see what they did last year, and I don't believe a single word of it, right? Everyone says I called it perfectly. We figured it out. And listen, you may have done it, but that's a fool's errand playing that timing game, right?
Well, every time you come back from Vegas, I hear about all the bingo games you won. You don't tell me about the dozens you lost.
Yes, bingo's my game. That's right. But, like I said before, it's not about timing the market. It's about time in the market. And we have this graphic I want to show you that shows that it illustrates the point. If you would have invested your money in the S&P 500 over the last 20 years, that's from 2003 to 2022, and you invested $100,000, that $100,000 would grow into $647,000, right? If you just missed the best 5 days in that 20-year period of time, that 647 would have only grown to 409. You're missing out on a tremendous amount of the return. If you miss 10 days, it only goes to 296.
And I want you to stop it. 10 days. 10 days out of a 20-year period.
Yeah.
And when you're scared and you're moving and you're timing and you're jumping in and out of the market, those are the days that most people are reacting to.
That's it. I don't know when those 10 days are going to come. So if you just miss 10 days, the 10 best days of the S&P 500 over the last 20 years, you would only have half the return that you would otherwise. That should make you think. That's why it's important to make sure you have a portfolio that you're comfortable with, that you don't feel this need to jump in and out of, that you don't have to play this goofy game.
Does this include people who turn off their contributions to their 401k because they don't like the market and then decide, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back on, or change their contributions because they don't like what the market is doing and then maybe they'll increase it later? How do we know when?
Well, that's what happens, right? We see clients all the time that say, oh, I'll just catch it up later. I'll do the catch up later. And what ends up happening is they have to give up a big portion of their lifestyle later on in life to get to where they need to be. They end up, rather than just starting at 7 or 8% early, they have to do 15%, for their entire remainder of their retirement, or they have to do 20%, the max catch-up. Right? So we have another graphic here I want to show you. It talks about waiting for the right time to invest. And what it shows, if you invest $100,000 and you let it grow assuming a 10% rate of return, over a decade, that would turn into $259,000. By just waiting 5 years, that would only be $161,000. That's why Albert Einstein says that compounding interest is the 8th wonder of the world. I had this great client just come in. He's a member of the Silverleaf golf club over there, country club. And we were talking about the power of compounding, and it's absolutely true. It's one of those really, really, important things. It's also about, gravitation to the mean as well. I won't get too far into that. It's a little more complex.
I was going to say, jargon alert, man.
Yeah, but it's a really important thing.
And here's, I think, just an interesting point, especially for our viewers of Arizona. It's a different mentality here. It's not just compounding as you're growing your money and getting to retirement. How long are we going to be in retirement? We need compounding. It's time in the market during our retirement years too, yes?
Yeah, we're living longer, and we need to make sure that you can do it. And one of the things that we use some of the most sophisticated cash flow software on the planet. It's amazing. Not only do we do cash flow planning, we do goals-based planning. We do multiple views of our clients' portfolios to first let them know, are they okay to retire? That's number one. And number two, to make sure that once they're retired, that money's actually going to last throughout their lifetime. So we can do a very sophisticated cash flow analysis to let you know exactly how much we're comfortable with you taking, right? Because look, you may have different goals. You may say, hey, when I pass away, I want my kids to have it all, and I want them to have as much as possible. And you're willing to eat dog food for your kids to have a lot of money when you're gone, right? I'm not. I mean, they can figure it out on their own, right? But some of you will say, hey, forget those rotten kids, like I say, and it's. I'm just kidding. I love my kids.
He does not. He does not.
But at the end of the day, everybody's goals are different. And everybody's plan is different.
Right.
And I think.
But this time in the market over timing the market, and I'm saying that slow, time in the market is just as important. And here's, I think, the good thing. I was about to say great, but I know that compliance watches our shows. I think the good thing is that you can have that compound interest without having to chase after crazy returns, meaning we don't have to swing for the fences. We can have compound interest at what? 3, 4, a reasonable 5%?
5, 7%. I mean, you don't have to swing for the fences. You're absolutely right. And I think, look, investing is like a roller coaster. And when we talk about investment behavior, investor behavior, I think it's important. We have my last graphic I'll have to show you here, our second to last, is this roller coaster that we're seeing. And look, these are the emotions that people go through when they invest. And I think everyone knows you're supposed to buy low and sell high. But what ends up happening is this emotional roller coaster that freaks you out when the market's down. People will miss the great markets when they return. People will end up buying. It's like buying Bitcoin, right? What we saw last year.
Oh my gosh! I mean,
people bought high, and
every
look,
website we say buy. It was all over the place.
and it's making a comeback right now. We're seeing all these, these kind of private groups that are saying, hey, I made this guy $500,000 by buying Bitcoin.
Well, and some of these large institutions are also making ETFs of it. That's a whole other program.
Well, so, it's funny. I was listening to Larry Fink talk about that from BlackRock, about the democratization of these
Your fancy words
Bitcoins,
today. You
right?
slept.
Yes, that's I got a nap in right before. But it's really important that people are in their proper portfolios and they don't start making goofy decisions. I talk about this with my private clients all the time, where my son used to race go-karts, and we used to travel the world, and these kids, we'd fly out to Florida, race a race, and 6 of his teammates this year and people he competed with raced in the Indy 500 this year, which was amazing to watch. And these kids, they'd fly out, travel across the country, win a race after heat races and, qualifying and all that stuff. And then literally on their victory lap showing off to the crowd, they crash their car after they've spent the whole weekend winning. And it's the same thing about retirement. When you've spent your whole life to get to this point, don't go ruin it at the last minute here. Don't crash on your victory lap. Because the amount of loss going down can have a tremendous effect on whether you succeed or fail in retirement.
I think as I wrap up today's program with you here, we were talking about investor success in retirement, and the big baseline of this pyramid was investor behavior. Our takeaway, our personal takeaway, is that it has a lot to do with the choices that you make, and you need to make sure you're working with a financial advisor who's got your best interest in mind.
Absolutely. If you're concerned that you've behaved badly, or maybe you haven't behaved correctly, or maybe you just don't know how to behave, like my kids, right? If you have concerns and you're looking for a second opinion, or maybe you're looking for somebody to communicate with to guide you through these turbulent times, we're offering that complimentary portfolio review. But you have to take action. Give us a call at 833-602-7526. That's 833-602-PLAN. Or click on that QR code. It'll take you to assetpreservation.com. We'd be glad to help.
Stewart, thank you so much, and thank you for letting me out of the radio studio. We're also on KTAR, KFYI, an hour-long radio show. But for you to get your complimentary review for the first 15 callers, use the phone number, use the QR code. Make sure you come back next week. Thank you for watching the Asset Preservation Hour with Stewart Willis.